Hello, everybody. You like animals? I like animals. They make good pets sometimes. That is, if they don't start to stand upright and start killing you or berating you about how humanity is messing with natural order. Once again, another episode. Here we are talking about something that I thought was only going to make a short 6-minute video, but looks like will be a lot longer now that I have found more information on them. Here we go. How do you DM Animal Lords? So Animal Lords have been touted as new, and while the modern stat block and how they work is, Animal Lords have been in D&D since the beginning. In AD&D 1e, Monster Manual 2, the Cat Lord was the first Animal Lord that was drawn as this man that doesn't look very feline. Most of the description talks about attacks and healing licks that he can do, but the other little bit that we get tells that he is a minor deity and is of the neutral alignment. He also roams the astral, prime, material, and ethereal planes. Next time we see mention of Animal Lords is in the Planescape Monstrous Compendium of AD&D 2e. Listed in here as examples are the Cat Lord, Hawk Lord, Lizard Lord, and Wolf Lord. It is then stated early in the text that there is a Lord for every animal. The Animal Lords given do get descriptions, and the Cat Lord is now female, appearing more feline-like in appearance, with lynx-like ears and vertical pupils, then appearing like a Black Panther in animal form. The Hawk Lord is also female, and is more noble-like, while taking on the form of a large hawk in animal form. The Lizard Lord appears more often as a Gila lizard, but will rarely turn into a human male with jewels and rough skin. The Wolf Lord appears as a teenage male with wolf features, while his wolf form is a large gray wolf. How very teenage angsty of them. 3E's Epic Level Handbook is the final time that we see the Cat Lord or Animal Lords at all until 2024. This time he is a guy again, and has been made to be more feline in his human form with more feline features, which smooth out the transition to a Black Panther in his animal form. Interestingly, the middle image is almost lycanthrope in design, and I would imagine that he would use this form to be a bit more scary. Skipping over 4E and 5E, we move directly to 2024, where we see a more general but more diverse set of Animal Lords, and one of the most unique and distinct stat blocks of D&D I have ever seen. The art given isn't my favorite in the book, as I feel the artist could have made these guys look a lot cooler, given they are lords of animals, but I guess this will do. In the image here, we can see the more animal humanoid form of these creatures that they take on according to the book to defend their territory of animals related to them. They also have the quasi-humanoid form with slight animal features, a full animal form, and I believe a giant animal form. This image, I believe, represents that same middle image we saw with the Cat Lord earlier. We can also determine that these Animal Lords here are not the same ones we have seen before due to the cat not being a Black Panther and the wolf being female. So for the lore of these creatures, they are basically the representation of the animals that are in spirit form. While technically immortal, their essence can be defeated, and just like an aspect of God goes back to their home realm, in this case more than likely the Beastlands. Well, this is not stated in the stat block, and gods can technically be killed, but I think these guys are more like one dies and another one takes on the spirit of the Animal Lord. They are divine protectors that can shapeshift into a human-like form, a hybrid form, or a huge or smaller version of the animal the Lord defends. While animalistic instinct and thoughts are always present in these beings, they have more than enough wisdom and intelligence to know to be cordial or not. The Beastlands are their home realm, but they do often travel to the Feywild and other realms that are not the material realm, except when their animals are in grave danger. As there is a lord for every animal, alive and extinct, they have the ability to also summon spirits of their associated creatures if necessary. As different varieties of animals have different temperaments, this goes as such for the Animal Lords as well, which are separated into 3 distinct groups representing their combat and social styles. That's basically it for the lore. It's not a lot, but a lot of this lore is more to do with 2024, not the previous installments, because a lot of it counters the other. So I just went with 2024 because it's the most up-to-date version. Now we move on to the gameplay. So Animal Lords are CR20 monsters, and this is the highest challenge rating I have covered so far. So with that noted, I am excited to get into something that is meant to be a near in-game creature. These guys have an AC of 19, a HP of 323, a plus 19 to initiative, and a land, swim, and fly speed of 60 feet. I have a feeling this is supposed to be based on the type of animal the Animal Lord is, but I would add a climbing speed if running something that could feasibly climb. All of the stats are incredibly high, with the lowest being intelligence at 19. They get 4 traits, so let's get into it. Animal Lordship is simply stating that this monster represents either a forager, hunter, or sage, depending on the animal they are. Everyone knows Legendary Resistance. Lordly Presence causes a wisdom saving throw, and the effect is based on the type of animal the Animal Lord is. The effects include being charmed, frightened, or taking psychic damage, and a negative D4 on saving throws. The last trait is Magic Resistance, giving advantage on magic saving throws. The Animal Lord has multi-attack, Rend, Radiant Ray, Animal Spirit, which has multiple effects based on the animal type, and spellcasting. It has a Shapeshift bonus action, and legendary actions, Feral Strike, and Radiant Strike. The Animal Spirit, as said, does multiple things. At base, it is a dexterity save that causes radiant damage. As a forager, the Animal Lord gains 20 temporary HP. As a hunter, the Animal Lord gains advantage on attack rolls, and as a sage, the target gets a disadvantage on attacks and abilities. With all of this said, I may be able to help give a realistic scenario to use this creature in. To be honest, I would say this monster is probably best used as an ally, but I will give my interpretation on using it as an enemy, and that should pretty easily carry over to using it as an ally as well. So in a scenario, players have caused something to happen to a population of animals or significance. The Animal Lord appears as the animal the DM determines is appropriate. Now, I love the differences of the groups of animals, and as such, I feel that they would also affect how the Animal Lord proceeds with the encounter. A forager would maybe appear and try to convince the party to stop what they are doing and settle things without harm. A hunter would maybe use intimidation or just outright start aggressively. And a sage would be more mysterious and try to frighten or get into the party's minds to drive them away. If forced into combat, they would probably summon more creatures of their kind to help aid, just to get a little bit more action economy. Then make sure to stay within 30 feet of the party if it can help it to use its lordly presence. It would then probably try to use its multi-attack and any environmental advantage it has to win the combat. Environment is a big factor here, so I'm going to try to help with that. If I were to do a combat with the Animal Lord, unless it doesn't fit the scenario, I would provide environmental advantages that the Animal Lord can use, but also environmental advantages that smart parties will use. If using a flying creature, for example, I would give the Animal Lord plenty of open air and a few trees to separate itself from the party. The trees would also help the party, but I would also give them water that they can submerge into with some vegetation or maybe avoid the monster. That is just a basic example though. I would do the same for a swimming animal or a land animal. Try to find something to help them and the party. To confuse the players, I would also describe the shapeshifting the creature does to make them second guess what they are really fighting. I'd say unless the act that provoked the Animal Lord was particularly heinous, then they would probably let the party have one more chance at redemption before the final blow. And with that, that is it for the Animal Lord. These guys are pretty interesting as there are seemingly infinite amount of combinations due to them being able to be any animal and having 3 different stat blocks based on their creature type. I would say, again, they are more likely to be friend, but like I said, they do have the potential to be an enemy given the right circumstances. With that being said, thank you all for watching, and ladies and gentlemen, let's roll.